Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, wherever you're joining from. My name is Caroline and I'm with Wavefront, and I want to welcome you to today's demo. Before we get started, I want to make two quick announcements. The first is that we are recording this webinar, and we will make that recording available to you. So tomorrow we're going to send out an email and it'll have a link to the recording so that you can watch it on demand. The second item to note is that we will be doing a Q&A at the end of the demo today. So there's a chat box on your screen. So throughout the presentation, feel free to type in your comments and your questions, and we will answer as many as we can at the end. So those are the two things I wanted to take care of. And with that, I will hand things off to our presenter today, who is Chris Clark. So Chris, over to you.
Awesome, thank you. And Caroline, before we get started, can you confirm that you can hear me and see my screen?
Yep, sounds good to me.
Awesome, thank you. Hey everybody, my name is Chris Clark. I'm a sales engineer for slides explaining what Wavefront is, what problems it solves, and then we're going to switch over to a live demo. And finally, like Caroline had mentioned, we're going to leave it open to some Q&A towards the end. So I'll get through the slides pretty quick and get right into live product demo. So the first thing that we should talk about before we talk about Wavefront is what kind of problem is it trying to solve, right? So today in 2018, we're seeing an increase in a rise of containers and microservices. So it's going to be fragmented. It's hard to have visibility inside of all these microservices and containers that you guys are developing on a daily basis. Also, we have continuous delivery or CI/CD. DevOps are being adopted larger into enterprises on a daily basis, and engineering teams are pushing code to production many times a day because of continuous integration with CI/CD pipelines. So there's definitely a need there for continuous monitoring when you have so many cooks in the kitchen, as it were. And then finally, so even though DevOps is mainstream, there aren't a whole lot of tools out there around kind of the monitoring of everything and making sure that all of your containers are up and running, your infrastructure is fine, and that we have visibility really into everything from infrastructure on up, right? And that's where Wavefront enters the picture. That's the problem that some of the problems Wavefront tries to solve. So at the bottom of the page, what we're visualizing is some things that might be monitored for you guys, whether it's in the cloud, in the application itself, the infrastructure at the OS level, whether you're going on a multi-cloud strategy with GCP, AWS, Microsoft Azure. These are the types of things that you're going to be collecting metrics from. And you'll take those metrics and ingest them very easily into Wavefront. Now, Wavefront has a few different pieces to it. It has the metrics collection and storage. So it really allows for you guys not have to worry about the storage of them or making sure the platform's up and running because it is completely SaaS-based. We have an advanced analytics engine, which we're going to show off a little bit during the live demo. And finally, we do have the front-end UI as well as an API backend for the more technical-minded who have other things that they'd like to do. Once all those metrics are ingested into Wavefront, it's going to give you the ability to see hidden trends sooner. It's going to allow you to alert on anomalies earlier, and it's going to be able to help you troubleshoot and iterate faster. And that's all through that instant visualization that we see there mid-screen, whether you're an SRE, you're a business end user, or a developer himself. So there's four main pillars, really, if you want to look at it this way, of Wavefront. It's our advanced query-driven analytics, our customizable and shareable dashboards. So it's going to be a very social tool and very collaborative, allowing the sharing back and forth of the content that you're creating. It also has massive scale and availability. We're on AWS since we're SaaS. You don't have to worry about maintaining this platform. And then finally, intelligent alerting for proactive monitoring, which is really huge to us and a lot of our customers, especially with, again, continuous integration and containerization of applications. So a little bit about the architecture of Wavefront. So you're going to have an agent installed on each box. Unless you're in AWS, we can have direct ingestion from there. The agent is going to be sending data over to the proxy. And as I'm sure you can imagine, the Wavefront proxy is responsible for sending over the metrics to Wavefront itself, where it's going to ingest those and allow you to slice and dice that data as you see fit. And there's also the ability to have metrics being sent via API. If you're writing a Java app or a .NET app, you can definitely send in metrics from the application itself directly to the proxy, as well as logs via TCP or FileBeat. So the architecture is really simple, and it helps to have things up and running fast with Wavefront. So we have a ton of integrations. It's my favorite thing about Wavefront. So we are constantly hearing from our customer base and developing integrations on a monthly basis. These are just a few, but just a few that are near and dear to my heart that I use on an almost daily basis. It's going to be Apache Nginx, Tomcat. We have Kubernetes integration, PKS, Docker. We can alert out to Slack, PagerDuty. We can integrate with Pivotal, as well as Linux, VMware, OS X, and obviously we have that UI. And again, we do have that REST API available should you guys choose to do something a little more programmatic. And I won't spend much time reading over all these. I can share out these slides later, but here's just a few of the customer reviews of sorts from Box, Fashion ID, Basic, and as well as one of the largest energy providers in the UK. So with that said, now that we've gone through the demo, the slides, we'll get straight into the demo. So what we're looking at here is the typical dashboard that you might see inside of Wavefront. And what we're sending it is a whole bunch of KPIs that we care about. So you can kind of get an idea of what that looks like. And this chart, we're sending all sorts of metrics from various machines, CPU utilization, network bytes in and out, IOPS, memory usage. So really a whole lot of information being sent from a cluster of application servers into Wavefront. And what we're doing with all of this is we're averaging this out into a KPI transactions per second. So a lot of times when you're sending in these metrics and mission critical systems, we just need to be able to know what the shape of that data is, right? If something's dropped more than a certain threshold, that's exactly what we're seeing here on this KPI transactions per second being averaged out to a singular series. We've gone ahead and set up an intelligent alert on the fact that we've seen a drop of more than X% or a specific number of points. And this needs our attention. So traditionally, what's going to happen when you have a system down issue or a mission critical issue is you're going to have all of your different teams across the board on the call and discuss this. Now, you might already be using some other monitoring tools, but it's kind of hard to communicate across teams when not everybody's on the same thing. So if we're using this, we can actually diagnose the issue to allow the appropriate team to go in and fix that with the tools that they need. The first question that we need to ask here is this drop of KPIs, is it affecting all customers or just one customer? So we can easily do that by coming over here and we'll do filter out that query. We'll filter out that query by customer, and it does look like this is customer impacting across the board. So it's definitely a big time issue. So the next thing we need to ask ourselves is this a problem with all application servers, or is it just one particular application server? So we can continue to filter down on these charts by app server. And what it looks like is everything is business as usual until we get to app server number 5. So just 2 clicks of the mouse with this dashboard, what we're able to see on our trouble call is we've already identified that it's affecting all customers and the problem is coming out of app server number 5. Now, the next thing we need to do is ask ourselves, what's the problem? So now we come back over here to this chart. Now this chart is what we affectionately call internally as the world's ugliest chart. And that's by design. So we want all of this data by default, and we can set it up to filter out only what makes sense to us. So the first thing we want to do is we want to switch over to app server number 5. So we're not seeing everybody's data. Once we've done that, we can come over here and we want to correlate this. So we're going to average out those KPIs. And in this sense, what we're seeing is the shape is following what we've seen over here on our KPI transactions per second. So we're definitely on the right track. And then finally, what we can do is we can correlate all of those transactions and we can actually see what's happening. What we've done is we've changed the grouping on this chart to effectively bring in new series. And by scrolling over here, we can see that our log count is going up, our free memory is tanking, and we are seeing garbage collection on the rise. So with a relative degree of what I can say is we got a problem with app server number 5. I think it's a memory leak, and in 5 minutes we can disperse the phone call and let those app devs go on about their business and fixing this issue. Now, there's a lot to unpack in this this demo scenario, and it's all kind of centered around alerts. Your job isn't to, I would hope not, is not to look at a dashboard all day long. We want to only be alerted when it's impacting our system. So let's kind of go over some of the alert capabilities, the intelligent alert capabilities within inside Wavefront. So on this dashboard, what we're saying is, or showing, ingesting rather, is it's a load balancer. We're seeing HTTP requests over time. And what we're seeing is a drop in HTTP requests. It looks like 5 separate times, all before 1. Now, this looks like it's going to be a real outage. This is something that needs to be alerted on. But how do we get rid of these things, these artifacts in the data that self-resolve? Because if I get a resolves itself and I go in and I check it, chances are I'm going to start ignoring my alerts. So we definitely want our alerting system to be more intelligent, so we don't fake people out with what we're sending. So how we do that is we'll actually come over here and we will apply a moving window. We'll use a moving median of 10 minutes. And with just a couple clicks of our mouse, we're able to smooth out those self-resolving alerts or drops in our data. And we are able to see really the only thing we care about here, which is the real outage. Now, if we go back and zoom back out, let's take a look at what we've done. So we can actually copy out this query. Let's go ahead and rename this to old query. Throw that guy in there, and I'm going to overlay what we got rid of. So with just a few mouse clicks, what we did was we were able to get rid of 5 alerts that resolved on their own. So now when we get that alert, we can have, it has a little more impact and we can go investigate. Now, when we create alerts, we have the ability to integrate with Slack, Jira, ServiceNow, a number of different systems. So it gives you a wider range of ability to alert people. Now, what does creating an alert look like? We can come over here, create an alert, and it brings you to this alert creation window, which I actually have one all ready to go to show you guys. So with our query builder, now mind you, everything you're seeing me do is just with mouse clicks, so you don't have to learn a new query language. Though if you are more technical and you would like to do something a little more advanced, as you're seeing me go through this, keep in mind that down here it is going to build out the query so you can see that as I work through this. So what we're looking at is CPU load average over 1 minute intervals. We only want to see this for applications. We can specify a certain app server here if we wanted to. And we have a whole bunch of series in front of us. So the first thing I want to do is let's go ahead and average this guy out. We'll average out that metric into a singular series. And finally, all we need to do is set a threshold. And we'll do this if it's greater than 0.6. Now, what's really cool about this is it allows you the ability to do back testing of these alerts. And it'll show you when it's firing, when it's not firing, and so you don't have to wait for a new event to happen to find out if your logic is accurate or not. And finally, down here is how we would create the output or what integration to go to. So the last scenario I want to go through is a code deploy scenario. We've talked about the CI/CD pipeline a little bit and fragmentation with containerization and different types of systems being brought into the enterprise today. So what we're looking at here is CPU performance over time, and we can actually push an event with this data. So what we're showing is here's where we have a new code deploy version 12.4.23 on Wednesday, July 29th at 8:15 at night. So what we can see is there's a trend of CPU degradation or an uptick in CPU performance after this. How do we get better insight into this, and how do we ask better questions of this data? So the first thing I want to do is let's go ahead and average this guy out. And it's going to collapse that to a single series. So my assumption is correct. After our code deploy, what we've seen is there's an uptick in CPU utilization, and we can now, we talked about the shareability features and social features. We can actually come over here and copy a short link, open a new tab, and we can send this short link off to somebody so they don't need to recreate the work we've already done. They can just view what we've saved essentially for them, so it will retain state for you. Now, if we did send this short link to, say, QA or the developers, I'm sure the first question that they're going to ask is this expected behavior? So we can actually do some things that are a little bit more intelligent. So let's compare right now versus yesterday. So we're going to lag by 24 hours, throw this in there. And finally, with just a few keystrokes or a few mouse clicks, I did this to show you guys a little bit of the query language. What we can most definitely see is after the code deploy, yesterday's data versus today's data, there's definitely something wrong after that code's been pushed. And we can go ahead and link off to this into a new chart over here. And this is what they would see if they've clicked that link. Now we can create more intelligent alerts off of this or the different queries. I just wanted to show you guys something that's a little more relevant to the CI/CD pipeline. So the last point I'd like to make here before I leave it open to some questions is I do want to show you guys the integrations page. Now, these are all driven by customer feedback as well as ideas we have internally. I've created a few of these as well as some of my colleagues. We're pushing these out on a monthly, if not weekly basis. some of the ones to keep in mind here, like I said, are the Linux, Windows host, Mac host, Pivotal, PKS, AWS, some cloud integrations. AWS is really easy to integrate with, as well as GCP and Azure. We also have the ability to output to PagerDuty, ServiceNow, Slack, Jira, HipChat. We even support different authentication mechanisms like Active Directory, Google, Okta. And if you guys would like to do some application instrumentation, we definitely support various tooling around that as well. Now, I do want to show you guys, if you guys sign up for a free trial of Wavefront and you want to get going, I like showing off Linux because I'm a Linux guy. It's really simple. You just come over here. It gives you an overview of what that plugin looks like. You can come over here to the setup, and it's a one-line install. This is going to install everything that you need to get going, create the systemd files, and start the program for you as needed. And if you need to review the script, then you can go ahead and copy this, throw it in that new tab. It's going to show you what the script looks like. Or you can do things manually down here, and it will give you the steps. Now, every integration on this page is going to have a README just like that. So if I were to use Windows instead, we can see the setup instructions from this tab. So it's very simple to get going and integrate any number of different systems. So on that note, I will go ahead and leave it open to Caroline to kick off Q&A.
All right, everyone. So yeah, as we said before, there is a chat box. So if you just click and you open the chat window, you are able to type in some questions and Chris will be able to answer them. So while you guys are thinking of some questions, I also want to make note, again, of our free trial. If you go to wavefront.com/sign up, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial. You'll get the full system, be able to, try it out with your custom data that you can pump in yourself, and it has all the full tooling and full features available for you to try out on your own. So if you are interested, check out wavefront.com/sign up. We are also running a promo right now, and every month we draw a winner from someone who starts a trial to win a free, we give out these JBL speaker boom boxes. They're wireless, waterproof, pretty cool. So definitely check it out. I see a few questions coming in. So Chris, if you want to answer some of these.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I was just pulling up the Kubernetes integration here. So we do have a demo dashboard going. So the question is, how's the Kubernetes integration? Can you report on node performance, or is it limited to pod? You can definitely report on node performance. I'm trying to find my node section here. So here what we have, you guys see that through the UI I can collapse different sections, but we can definitely report on node performance as well as pod. The Kubernetes integration is one of my favorites. I have a couple different pods going, and it looks like I stopped sharing my screen. Sorry about that. So here is the node performance on the default Kubernetes dashboard, but we do show some high-level cluster integrations, how many nodes we have, namespaces, pods. We can switch between our clusters up here, how many pod containers that we have, but specific to your question, we do have the ability to monitor nodes. Yeah, you're welcome. And to kind of hit on that Kubernetes point a little bit further, I really like how we've done the Kubernetes integration. All the setup steps can be found here under the setup tab, and I'm currently working on a Helm chart, so we should have a Helm chart here soon as well. Good question. So question on the line was, how does pricing work? So we average out your points. That way you don't have to worry about overages if you shoot up by a whole bunch of points per second or any of that stuff. So the pricing model is by points per second ingested. Do we charge for custom metrics? That's a really good question. No, we do not charge for custom metrics. And what's even better is I was showing you guys all the metrics you can ingest here. Wavefront data format. So this is really cool. The data format that the proxy accepts, there's a couple kinds, but the Wavefront data format is a space delimited format here. So metric name, metric value, epoch timestamp, and then key value pairs for metadata in the source. And that is what you could do to send custom metrics over to Wavefront. And for all I care, even if it's in at the Linux terminal in a shell script, you can netcat it over the proxy. I mean, it's really that easy. So you're kind of wide open on the type of metrics you can send to us. But the question was, do you charge for custom metrics? We do not. All right, I think the questions are slowing down. I'll give it another minute or so to let anybody else ask anything they might have. Otherwise, I'm going to hand it back to you, Caroline.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. Yeah, again, if you have any other questions, you can type them in the chat box, or you can feel free to shoot a message to wavefront@vmware.com. We also have a lot of information available on our Wavefront website. But again, I say the best way to really kind of see what we do, I would say, is to try it out yourself. So definitely sign up for a free trial. That's wavefront.com/sign up. So with that, I think we'll wrap things up. So thank you, Chris, and thank you to everyone for joining. And check your inboxes tomorrow. We will send out a link with the recording. So have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.